zone. Let me into my zone. Let me into my zone. Let me into my zone. Please don't let me.
Welcome back to Krown's Kiddo Cave, coming at you from camera number 2 over here, different angle, whole new view, but coming at you from the same very, very cold Helsinki, Finland, although it is bright today, and I would like to wish you a nice and warm Friday morning as I go back to camera number 1 over here. It just feels more natural. Anyways, want to first say that, well, we have a lot of things to talk about today, just because realistically, a lot of the higher time frame and bigger picture things that we've been monitoring over the last couple months really are starting to come to fruition right here. So that is going to offer up some potential major massive signals being given, of course, when signals. Anyways, I did an interview with Elliot of FUD TV yesterday. Absolutely love Elliot, and he's one of the few channels that I think actually does a good job not only presenting like actual unique news, but just giving non-biased and relevant information. So definitely go check it out. He is FUD TV. He is amazing, and in a space where most news people are just like kind of parroting the same sort of like memes and like Bitcoin to 100,000. By the way, you're gonna be really mad if you didn't buy Bitcoin today. It's very nice to have those voices of reason. He, amongst a few other guys, are the guys that I trust for news activities. Anyways, other than that, I want to say that what else do I want to say? We'll be on Twitch later today. Yesterday was a really fun session, and perhaps today I'll be able to go even longer as I won't have any interview obligations afterwards. And we'll probably start somewhere between about 8 and 9 a.m. Eastern time. It just depends when I finish my shower and finish eating all this beef that I have stocked in my fridge right now, which I'm really excited about as well. On top of that, the Krown trading application is live, and you know what? Let's actually just port on over into it right now. But I'd like to wish you the best, and the happiest. The rituals as always, because why the fuck not? And what do we see on over here? So, sorry, first, let me explain this. Well, first things first, it's actually 100% free. Head on over to app.crowntrading.net and understand that we will be adding more features to it over time. As you can see on the left-hand side right over here, you can get a good idea of what's likely to come or what is to come, and plus much more. And what I want to kind of focus on back again today is that the open interest is staying up very, very high. So keep this in the back of your mind's eye once again, because we have once again approached kind of like a medium-term resistance that we spoke about at 9850-ish region, but open interest is staying very, very high. So we have yet to see the big face melting move that you'd expect from a metric like this. And when we lined up with all the other tentacles, especially with what we're going to look at volatility, you're going to see that there is a very clear picture being painted as far as the higher timeframes go. Anyways, with all of that said, we did actually add a few new things over here. I should mention that the news tab actually does have relevant news channels stocked in there, calendar of economic events, and that's pretty much it for what I want to talk about right now. Bitcoin dominance at 64%, so a little bit struggling there, as altcoins probably having a little bit of a party versus Satoshis right there. Anyways, let's get into the actual charts themselves. Here it is, Bitcoin on the daily, and what do we see? Well, we do see that Bitcoin is finding resistance right at that 9850-ish level that we spoke about yesterday. I do believe that we saw that first initial reaction from it, giving us that $200 pullback from about, 98.50 to about 96.50-ish down here. The question is now have we seen the extent of this pullback, of this expected pullback? And I would say that because open interest is so damn high, and actually this is one of the few times where I have been paying attention to the funding on BitMEX, just because it actually has been getting relatively higher, while this current funding rate for this period ending in the next 3 hours is not that out of shape. It's only like 0.05%, which is not that high. The next one is getting close to that critical level of 0.1%, which has been associated with pretty massive moves in the past, or at least turning points for the short and medium timeframes, of which we are going to be looking at them right here. So the question is now, while we did expect a little bit of a pullback from that 98.50-ish region, is this expected to have a more long form consolidation and test some more downside before getting the next continuation leg to the upside? And I would say that overall, I really hate to trade against a trend, which in this case, on all timeframes up to a 3-day, including a 3-day up to a weekly, essentially, are confirmed uptrend now as late as just yesterday's closure. So that is a big deal. So the question is that at what point do I consider this do I consider this too hot and likely to melt back down? Well, that would be the same area that we looked at yesterday, putting on the drawing tools right here. Keep in mind this 9600-ish region. As long as Bitcoin's above there, I'm not too fussed with the current price action. We can come back down and test this region. That's completely fine, completely normal, completely natural. And with bearish divergence all the way up to perhaps even, we do have it on a 4-hour. Let's see, we even have a head and shoulders being printed on the 4-hour as well. What about the 6-hour? Do we have any bearish divergence here? No, well, kind of, but not what I'm really looking for. What about a 10-hour? I'd rather see it on that. Yeah, potentially yes. And we will be seeing the next 10-hour close in the next little bit over an hour right now. So we'll have a chance to actually confirm a local high here. If we even just if we close somewhere like this at around 90, anywhere below 9,800, and then take out the low side of this current dildo, that could initiate that bearish divergence, which very, very likely would bring us back down to that 9,600-ish level. The real question is, do we actually have the momentum to break 9,600 with all lower time frame momentum oscillators turning down, while open interest is at pretty massive astronomical levels? I mean, 1.4 billion, and that's billion with a B, is an outlier for sure. Very rarely have I seen it even higher than that. Anyways, looking at 4-hour Stokes right here, they're getting a little bit tired after hanging out in the critical zone. 3-hour Stokes already curling down. 2 hours probably, they're actually crossing back up. And hourly is floundering but down right now, so we're kind of at a decision point. It does look to me like Bitcoin is going to get another test back up to 9850. The question is, does that test get rejected? If it gets rejected, then we very likely do confirm a local top here, and then divergences across all of those medium timeframes are going to likely play out. I would look for, at the very least, to move to 9,600, and then 9,600 is going to be the key critical point to be the sort of decider of, okay, is this going to be a medium term consolidation to the downside, or is Bitcoin going to bounce here? And that will only be had after after getting that next I don't know, maybe like 12 hours of price action kind of set in stone. By the same token, 9850 to the upside is the area to beat. If Bitcoin can take out 9850 to the upside, I believe you will see another leg to the upside after that, probably towards around 10.1 to 10.3 region, maybe even a little bit more than that. As realistically, let's get a fresh chart here. This one's too convoluted. I'll do a completely fresh one, because we really only need a couple trend lines. Because realistically, on the 3-day right here, I put a significant amount of weight on this, and Bitcoin did something that it hasn't done since quite literally September, middle of September, right? This trend line right here held up this whole consolidation during June to September before the breakdown, and this actually reverted the weekly trend officially, and actually the 3-day trend by that by that token as well. We actually confirmed lower lows and lower highs, confirming the downtrend. Gets rejected there in late October, and then more recently we actually took it back up to the upside. So 3-day has confirmed a change behavior, just waiting for the weekly to kind of confirm on top of that. So I do very likely think that Bitcoin actually is not bearish here. We probably don't turn down from this region. But yes, if 9,600 is violated on a 4-hour, maybe it's better to be more conservative and say 9,550. It's kind of one and the same essentially. I mean, $50 over the, when looking at a chart with this big of numbers here, is not going to make all that big of a difference. As long as that area is not violated, I'm not the right term from it is not bearish. I'm looking for Bitcoin to just kind of float its way, melt its way upwards and onwards. And in this case right here, like I said, the next sort of targeted region would be if Bitcoin can take out 9850 to the upside, on the very least on a 4-hour total closure. I'd like to see like a 12-hour or daily. Would be a lot more confidence inducing, although you're probably going to miss a lot of the move if you do wait for something like that. You might get lucky with a 12-hour and 4-hour closing at the same time in about 3 hours here. It's gonna be within striking distance, and the hourly does kind of look like it wants to pop back up. But yes, if that were to happen, I would target a move towards 10.1 to 10.3. So keep that in the back of your mind, with open interest being like rocket fuel for some sort of a move. If we were to break 9,600 to the downside, or 9,550 if you want to use that term as well, I would look for a move down to about 92. What is this, like 92 to 9,300-ish region? And by the same token, if we break to the upside, I'm looking for $300 to $500+ move, and likely continuation on top of that. I do think that 10.1 to 10.3 would be a nice local top for maybe like a medium time frame, and a little bit of consolidation as we let everything cool off. But overall, the trend is being your friend right now. So keep that in your mind, and keep those critical points in your mind, relating all those concepts back to each other. Not only that do we see, but we also see volume starting to really tail off on this whole formation here, right? Which is confirming this as something a little bit more long term, which long term, as far as this goes, would suggest that we do have something forming as on the greater whole. In this case, it looks to be like some sort of a descending broadening wedge forming right here. is likely going to have resolution in March, about a month from now, anywhere between beginning of March to middle of March. High probability of a major massive break out of whatever the fuck that we're forming here. And, looking at it currently, do you look at this as, you could kind of see maybe a descending broadening wedge is going to be printed in a little bit longer term, but more importantly, we can expect that the greater formation is not going to be resolved for another month or so, and we're probably going to play in between the bounds between about 12,000 and like 9,000 for that time. And let's just go. Now I'm getting way ahead of myself here. Let's also go check in on volatility and see what it's saying on the lower time frames. How are we doing here? We do actually see volume also tailing off on this sort of formation right here. Saying that that's getting quite mature. Not only that, but volatility further confirming that fact that we are contracting in this region. So we're contracting as Bitcoin consolidates at a high level alongside a major resistance, typically, or I wouldn't say a major resistance, actually, alongside a, kind of a minor resistance. 9550 to 9600-ish region is going to be the next big pivot. I would feel a lot better if Bitcoin actually formally tested it once again, but doesn't need to do what I want it to do. Bitcoin's going to do whatever the fuck it wants to do. I just would like a position there it just offers up a nice piece of edge. Anyways, the point with this is that we're going to see likely historical volatility percentile be contraction on all these lower timeframes, which is going to be lining up with that next big break. And you see that 2 hour right here are absolutely crushed. We are very, 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 very likely looking at a decent move here, which is going to have enough fuel to actually break one of those critical levels, either 98.50 to the upside or 95.50 to the downside. Right now, we'll look at the probabilities in a second, but keep that in the back of your mind. Same thing with 3 hour, and then 4 hours probably already way down there. And remember that that's just a lower time frames, right? So that just speaks towards like $100 to $200 moves, which at this price point would significantly change it, because that would actually get us out of our current posturing. And remember, when we look at expected moves, that's with regards to historical volatility percentile to begin with. So it's going to be it should be very, very accurate. And this is the exact time that I really want to be utilizing a tool like this. Anyways, I want to line it up with also the 10 hour and 12 hour. 10 hour is still contracting longer term. You can see that it's been contracting ever since early January, that major break that we saw from, I think it was like 6,900-ish region. And the 12 hour is also another time frame that we've been keeping tabs on, and same thing here, still contracting longer term. And probably suggesting a break on like the greater picture somewhere a little bit later this month, actually. Anyways, so now that we have all those critical points in mind, and the lower timeframes are suggesting that we actually are winding up for a decent sized move, perhaps likely good enough to actually break one of these relevant ranges. Let's go look at the expected moves chart to see which one's more likely. And looking at this right here, we do see that this is hold on. All right, well, I'll first look at the 12. I just think the 12 hour has been getting it better. The 12 hour is saying that the top side of the first deviation is at 98.77, so a little bit above 98.50-ish region. And the bottom side of the first deviation is coming in right around 96.25, a little bit above 9600. Now, the rings are starting to kind of collapse on each other, which is providing a little bit of downside pressure. Not a death sentence in and of its own self, but this is actually not giving us all that much right here. Technically speaking, the probabilities would be slightly more on the side of a breakout to the upside, just because the first deviation is actually encompassing that 98.50-ish region, but we really need to see a close above that region. And more importantly, to the downside, remember 9600 to 95.50 is the critical region. And by around daily total close, which is when this 12 hour will kind of give us, those sort of expected moves, it would say that we have a less than 16% chance to break to the downside from here. So the probabilities are on the upside, because, going from here to about 98.50, I mean, it's really like pretty much at the top side of the first deviation. So it's probably something like maybe 20 to 25% to break out to the upside today. So it is technically a little bit more. Let's go look at the daily as well. I'm curious how this one's printing it. And this one's obviously a lot more bullish, of course. We do see that the bottom side of the first deviation is coming in right around 95.50-ish region. So it is less than a 16% chance that we actually break to the downside of that today in the next 24-hour period. And to the upside, the first deviation is well encompassing that next critical region of 98.50. It's actually all the way to about 10,000 even, a little bit below $10,000. So what does that mean? It means that probabilities of closing above 98.50 are somewhere around like maybe 30-ish%, and the probability of closing below 95.50, that critical level to the downside, is less than 16% chance in the next 24 hours. So the bulls do have the ball in their court right here. So what I would say is that with Bitcoin in this current posturing, it's actually up to the bulls to take over control sooner rather than later. Now remember, open interest being extremely high at almost 1.4 billion, which is just, it's fucking astronomical, really. And in volatility on all the lower time frames, still kind of contracting to the areas where they are set to explode, which typically does produce, something to the tune of like $100 to $200 moves. It does look like things are starting to align for likely a breakout sooner rather than later. If we're treating those probabilities as a law, which they do happen to get things pretty damn well. It's what's been rounding out my analysis a lot more, and it's added actually a lot to my own trading behaviors, or more so my analysis behaviors, because my trading behaviors are, well, it does help my trading behaviors as well, of course, just because, especially if I'm trading options, which I haven't been recently on Bitcoin, but it's heavily useful for that as well. But recently I've just been doing really, really simple stuff with trading Bitcoin, just literally playing support and resistance, as simple as it fucking gets, and it's been quite nice. Anyways, so yeah, keep that in the back of your mind. As far as everything else goes, I do want to check in on, and by the way, hourly historic volatility percentile is actually 100% crush right here. So we probably do see a move, whether it be to above 98.50 or below 95.50, 9600-ish region, probably before end of day. Probably before the end of trading day. Remember that it is Friday, so that means that CMEs are going to be closing for the weekly, right? Which means that we basically get to see where spot is likely to end up the weekly. And I would say that now let's take it just a step further and go to the higher time frames once again, and really spend some time here, because what is the big deal with what we've been speaking about for like the last 2-3 months is realistically the weekly trend has accurately gotten all of Bitcoin's major massive moves since the genesis of Bitcoin. Anytime we've had a confirmed reversal, those are your 70% moves to the downside and your 100 to 1,000, sometimes like 1,000% plus moves to the upside. And in this case right here, we will have a chance to close above 95.50. And if CMEs do confirm above, I think they have like a $100 price premium. Yes, they do. They have about a $100 price premium on spot right now above 95.50. So if CMEs close above like 96.50, we will very, 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 very likely see spot finally confirm a higher high on the weekly, which to me is more of a technicality at this point, because the 3-day already did it, and the 3-day holds a lot of weight. And what we're looking at here, not just on on weekly structure, but with regards to moving averages and also momentum oscillators, things look more or less good. I really, really like this read on the weekly RSI. Looking at it right here, this blue box territory has accurately gotten pretty much all of our market cycles right. Anytime that we're in a bull market cycle, Bitcoin loves to play off the 55, 56 marker right here. And anytime that it tests into this region, those are your massive buy opportunities, typically speaking. Of course, it's not financial advice, I'm not a financial advisor, and vice versa for the bear markets. You can see it throughout 2015 to 2018 right here, Genesis right here, 2012 to 2014, and then more recently from March 2019 to 14,000, then breaks it, in the middle of September. And this actually gives you a more preliminary indication of a change in market cycle with regards to the overall trend. And then typically the trend confirms, soon after that. So I believe that's likely what we're seeing right now. I do think that we're going to see the RSI likely come back and test this region at some point, and that's going to be my next potential long-term buy. Not because it's 100% guaranteed to work out. Of course, even though it has been working almost flawlessly since the genesis of Bitcoin, I would say that for myself, it's always a statistical chance, right? So the reason why I like that trade is because if it does go wrong, if it does go against me, well, then I don't have to risk all that much to find out if I'm going to be wrong. And that's the basis of all my trading, getting in as close as I can to finding out that point of failure where I know that my idea for a trade is not going to be right, because then I have to risk the least amount of money, because there's always a risk that the trade is not going to go in your favor. There's always a risk, always a fucking risk. The weirdest things happen in trading, and believe me, if you've done this long enough, or the people who have here have been doing this, even just like a couple years, but especially traders who have been around for like 5-10 years plus, you've seen everything that you didn't think was possible happen. And so, to plan for those sorts of situations, which always possible. Anyways, so that's a big one to me. Also, weekly Stokes getting back above the bearish control zone, which same sort of thing here, has accurately gotten our bear markets in the past. It's by no mistake that in 2018, from January all the way to March of 2019, we were below the bearish control zone, breaks above, boom, there's your massive run from 4 to 14, and then more recently breaks below and when? Middle of September, and breaking out back above that region as of last weekend. So both of those have actually already confirmed. Not only that, but we do see that the weekly closing above the yellow 21 exponential average has just historically meant Bitcoin in I shudder to say these sorts of words, but just, straight up mode essentially. Loves to play off this guy long term in his bull markets, and loves to sell off this guy on bear markets. Not only that, but the slope of it further confirms that fact, because you do get a few closes above in bear markets, and you do get a few closes below. Well, actually, you don't get any closes below in bull markets that we've seen just yet, but the slope of this further confirms. And there's never been a positive slope while Bitcoin price action has been above, where it didn't get follow through in that same direction until the trend was actually over. What I'm saying is that it's very unlikely to get fake outs, especially when you're getting opens and closes above it, and then the red 10 symbol further confirming that fact as a more lower period and more reactive moving average. So both those guys having positive slopes does further put in confidence on that as well. Anyways, as far as everything goes, I do think that Bitcoin is going to have a chance to do it this week, and I personally speaking, I do think that Bitcoin does it. And what's even more interesting about this is that on CMEs, we see a very obvious inverted head and shoulders being printed in right here, and Bitcoin closing anywhere above 9,700 is going to be interpreted as strength by this market. And more importantly, on CMEs, we start to see the yellow 21 having a positive slope as well, with price action living well above. And I really like the increase in volume to the upside right here. Remember, volume is always to be interpreted in the context of price action, not just like volume up, good, volume down, bad. In this case, volume up is good for the bulls, just because price action is falling through and trend is emerging to the upside in this region, alongside a bullish reversal formation coming in as well in the form of an inverted head and shoulders, which actually does have a measure move pointed all the way towards about 11.5 to 12,000, this last prior high that we see from August of 2019. That area is very, very interesting to me as well, just because we do have the last sort of legitimate gap in CMEs coming from this region, which I do have, you can see that I do have some alerts set in there. I'd be very, 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 very careful in this region, because I do think that it is ripe for fuckery, and you're probably going to see everyone get extremely bullish there, and I'd imagine that that's a good point for a long-term top, maybe not a macro top. I'm not saying that the long-term macro trend is going to revert there, but very, 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 very likely a strong top is put in there, and Bitcoin's going to spend some time consolidating in the in the lower 10,000s to 12,000 bucks, and then we'll come back and reassess and judge what the likely next move is. But for right now, everything kind of looking good here on CMEs, and CMEs just are the easier chart to read. I think that it's just a better chart, and CMEs very, very obviously showing that as long as we're above about 90, what is this, like 9650, 9700 on CMEs, more or less fine, more or less good. Momentum oscillators all kind of, well, daily Stokes are actually going to be coming down here, but I don't really, here's the thing, the Stokes on CMEs are a lot more consistent with what I'm used to seeing in traditional markets. If you're not familiar with me, I used to be a market maker authorized trader in traditional markets. And so typically you'll see things like get stuck at the top or stuck at the bottom during strong trending moves. That's why you can't trust your fucking oscillators. That's why whenever you hear someone say the RSI is overbought or oversold, you can't go any lower, bro, you can tell that person to go fuck themselves, because they're very, very likely to be wrong. And I mean, that's what everyone said, on all the way down from 6,000 to fucking 3,000, and all the way up from 5,000 to 14,000. And you'll see the same thing here as well. And here's the thing. I don't really care all that much about Stokes on like a trending move. I care about RSI, if anything. And RSI right here is very constructive, very, very good, even putting in some lower lows and lower highs in the bullish control zone, confirming a change of behavior back into this region that we've been kicked out of ever since June of 2019, which was quite literally at 14,000. You can see that all the rejections coming around this, around the testing of this region since then, essentially suggesting that this breaking back into this region is a change of behavior, and Bitcoin is doing some very, very constructive and overall good here over the long term. Not only that, we're back above the exponential, and the exponential is now quite literally in the bullish control zone. And on top of that, we do have a lovely, or very, very likely lovely ascending triangle being formed within this region. So I do think, whoa, god damn, that was loud. Fuck. Hello, Jacek. Good to meet you, man. Hey, you scared the shit out of me. What the fuck? But hey, welcome and good to meet you, man. Anyways, looking at this right here, you know, we can actually make, I do put a lot of weight on formations on RSI. In fact, in a lot of cases, more so on RSI than I would on price action. And this would suggest that we probably do spend a little bit of time consolidating here. And then the next move up is going to take us around the critical zone. Looks overall good. Looks overall fine. I don't have any issues. I mean, in fact, I think it's quite good. But you know, can certainly take its time. So really the only way that I get bearish here is that if Bitcoin starts to like close 12 hours dailies below 9550-ish region to 9600, that's where things start to break down once again, and this starts to look a little bit more trappy. And for the people looking at this as like maybe some sort of a rising wedge, which typically breaks to the downside, are going to be right. But for right now, I don't really think that that's what's going on. A lot of the times when you see trends actually revert and really something diabolical that the market loves to do to the least sophisticated traders, which usually come in the form of pattern traders, is what they'll do is they'll print something in like this, right? And then people will just short the shit out of this. And then once everyone's got their positions in, aka open interest really fucking high, sounds familiar, doesn't it? Then they'll run it up and just absolutely shatter this topside resistance because everyone's like, it's a rising wedge. It can't go any fucking higher, bro. Short that shit. This shit's going to fucking 3,000. No, this shit's going to fucking 1,000. And go fuck yourself if you think otherwise. Like, where does this even come from? I don't know. How do I have this hidden in me? I've thought that I was a nice person, but now I'm just being a dick. No, my point is that people always want to call them moon or doom moves. People always want to be the geniuses behind it. Understand that, you know, formations can break any which way, and if you've lived long enough, you'll find that to be true yourself, very, very likely. And in this case, I don't really care that it's a rising wedge. It technically does work. The volume signature is proper. The shape is right. The size is right. However, this one's kind of ripe for fuckery here, and so that's what I have to say about that. I mean, it'd be, you know, you see this kind of breaking out of a long-term. Long-term trends as well. Like you'll print in a bearish formation and then it'll actually break to the upside, and vice versa for the downside. You see that a lot. So yeah, that's, you know, I do want to put some credence on that because it is valid. It's actually very valid. This is like one of the few times where I really do think that those formations actually is the right call. It's just, I only look at it as supporting resistance. Now, if we do break below 9,500, 9,550, that's when this will get initiated and we'll see a move back down to like 92-ish region. Gee, motherfucker! This is loud. Hey, Germ Carton. Good to meet you, man. I need to turn down the volume. This shit's too loud. All right, there we go. God damn. Anyways, okay, all right. What else do we want to talk about? We've already been, how have I been speaking about 30 minutes? Like, I'm not even done. I haven't looked at this in a while. I haven't looked at Trollinger bands. Let's see how they're doing right now. Pretty much what you'd expect. Top side of the of my top Trollinger bands are coming in what, 99, almost 10,000 actually. Wow. Expanding with price action, good. 20 simple has a positive slope, also good. The top side band can't be closed above. Krown. It's like, that's exactly what you expect during a breakout. It's like, no shit, because it's an outlier, which means that that's exactly what it's telling you. It's telling you that you're in a trending move. I'm having full on conversations with myself. This is just insane. I am certainly mentally ill in many regards. So thank you for sticking with this. And if you just watch this to listen to my retarded ramblings, and I mean retarded in the scientific sense, like held back, then, well, fair enough, man. I've always thought about when I was younger, like, what if I'm actually retarded and everyone's just too nice to me to tell me, and then I just resolved it by like, well, I'll never have to deal with it, I guess, so who cares? Anyways, looking at GBDC here, actually end of the day on a kind of a sour note. I don't really put too much weight on CMEs, on GBDC. CMEs take precedence, then spot, then GBDC. But more importantly for GBDC, we do see a change of behavior confirmed on daily RSI, which was kind of lagging from before. But other than that, don't really see anything of interest here. Golden Cross is more or less on the way, but do we get a pullback into that? Maybe. I don't trust this chart so much. Let's go look at the other top shitcoins and see what they're saying, so we can come up with a bias. And let's see if we hit the targets from yesterday. I believe Ethereum to 220 is what we're looking for. Hey, holy shit, that's actually literally 220 on the dot. Usually not going to work out that perfectly, but this one happened to be pretty damn nice. I do think that Mr. Buteral probably makes another stab up into this blue box territory, but I do not think that we're going to be taking out that blue box territory without first kind of backing off it and consolidating a little bit lower. Yeah, daily RSI for Ethereum is kind of what I'm looking for on Bitcoin. You know, you can see that same sort of ascending triangle being pointed in right here. Not as obvious, but breaking back up into this region. I do think that you've probably seen a local high for Mr. Buteral. I do not think that this one's going to be, you know, marching up above 225 before further consolidation to the downside. Don't really have downside targets. I think like maybe 210 to 205 would probably make sense. It's likely to give another stab up into this blue box, but I don't think that it takes it out just yet. We have new highs. We came about $5 short of making new highs from a wick basis, but gonna have a chance to close this Sunday on new highs as well. More importantly, we can go check out Mrs. Litecoin. Mrs. Litecoin didn't quite make it to our next targeted region, which I have at around 78 to 80, 78 and a half to $80. But more importantly for Mrs. Litecoin, we are seeing very constructive behavior here. I really like this actually. This one has actually confirmed on a wick basis new highs, actually on a closure basis as well, new highs on a weekly. So the weekly trend is officially reverted, and I do think that this one's just going to float its way onwards and upwards. I don't really have any major concerns with it. I do think that $80 is more or less going to happen in like the next week or two. Other than that, RSI looks fine. Stokes look fine. What about on a daily? How are we doing here? Daily looks maybe a little bit toppy. Looks a little bit more like Bitcoin. We do have bearish divergence present on a 12-hour. I would say that bearish divergence is going to play out if you do see a move below 70. What is this, like $71? Yeah, about $71. And I'll look for a move down all the way to about 68 and a quarter, and then reassess from there. Likely going to move with Bitcoin, and that does make me a little bit apprehensive with Bitcoin. Compare that to Mr. Buteral. Mr. Buteral actually still looks strong here. The 12-hour is going to close quite strong, it looks like. We'll have to go through the other altcoins to kind of judge this one accurately. Stellar kind of coming into a nice little. Do I have trend lines here? No, I don't. Where's the next major area for Stellar? We got one right there. It looks like it wants to take it out. And we got this guy right here, kind of in no man's land and looking good, to be fair. I think that this one's going to find a top somewhere relatively soon, somewhere before 8 cents, and then we'll kind of come back. But it looks like it's looking for another leg of continuation here as of right now. What about Ripples? Ripples, same sort of thing. I think that it probably gets another put. I don't know where this trend line's coming from. Must be like the weekly or something. Yeah, it's the weekly. Yeah, it's a weekly. Next major region is going to be actually 30 cents. So I don't think that this is, if it does stop here a little bit, I think it's just short term actually. We do see an inverted head and shoulders on the weekly as well. Let's see how this. Oh, this target's already been met. All right, nice. What about EOS? EOS looking good actually. EOS in no man's land. I don't really see too much stopping it from. I really don't see too much stopping it from like $5.50. Neo probably is another leg up towards a little bit below $14. Tron, pretty good actually, not bad. 2.5 cents where I'd be looking towards. Bcash, gonna have a chance to it's tested the prior high on a weekly basis. Does it actually close above? If it can close above on at end of week above 475, I'd be quite bullish on this. Looking for a move up to like $600 plus. What about Zcash? Zuko my dick cash. Probably let's go to a daily. It looks topping. Bearish divergence probably coming back down to $60. BNB. I'm really not. I'm very split from looking at this. BNB testing the prior high. It probably backs off from here. If I had to give a general overview, I'd actually say most things are toppy or looking like they're hitting major resistances. So I'm hesitant to get I'm hesitant to be bullish actually right now. So I'll kind of leave it at that. I'd still just wait for those critical areas to get taken out and then reassess from there. Let's go check out traditional markets. I believe they're making new all-time highs after new all-time highs after new all-time highs. And holy fucking moly, baby. We got new all-time highs. Look at that weekly. Powerful girthy green dildos. Shove them up your crypto anarchist bungholes because this bitch is bullish AF. God damn. Powerful. Very powerful. And this is what I'm talking about. Momentum oscillator is kind of operating in traditional markets. Like, this is bullish as fuck right here. You even see this trend line forming. That trend line is going to get tested at some point, and that's going to be a nice, a nice opportunity, I'd imagine. Looks good. Very, 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 very strong reaction here. Very strong reaction. Very, very beautiful. And as we've shown before, Bitcoin and traditional markets seem to be quite correlated. I won't go through the full explanation right now. Definitely go check out the long-term analysis playlist as it will go into detail there. And this video is already probably too long. Let's go look at dollar yen. Dollar yen popping back up. I do think that it will probably test officially 110.25. After that, I'm not so sure. Pound yen losing it a little bit. Probably comes back down to 141.25. This I would don't fucking trade this. Jesus Christ. Gold. I'm not telling you not to trade it, but I would not be interested in trade. This just is too floppy. Gold popping back up as well. I do think that it's going to pop back up and test around 1580. We do have hidden bearish divergence confirmed, or sorry, not hidden bearish divergence, hidden bullish divergence confirmed. Do you think that it pops back up there? Euro dollar heading lower. I don't really have like a lower target, but I do, but I am generally bearish on this one. I suppose my next target, if I did have to say, would be like 109 and just basically the last close on the lows. Overall, very, very nasty. Probably does bounce a little bit there, but overall, I'd say has some more long-term down, I'd imagine. The damage has been done to structure quite nastily. What about, I think that's it, actually. Yeah, I think that's it. All right, we'll wrap up Bitcoin really, really quick. All right, so again, with open interest this high and volatility this low in the lower timeframes, we likely do have enough momentum to actually break one of these critical levels, whether it's 98.50 to the upside, initiate a move towards 10.1 to 10.3, or whether it's 95.50, 9600 to the downside, initiate a move probably towards like 9.2. I do think that we actually get this move probably within the next few days, if not like today, as things are really, really tight here. I mean, Jesus Christ, we barely ever see 4 hour historical volatility percentile this low, and whenever it is precipitating a pretty nasty move, whether it be to the upside or the downside, typically to the tune of a few $100, which would very obviously give us the momentum to either break to the upside or the downside. In this case, I'm sure that many people are going to be like, Krown, you're saying it can break to the upside or the downside. It can always break to the upside or the downside. I mean, that's fucking trading, man. You're gonna have a very difficult time being a trader if you can't deal with those sorts of things. But that's why these key critical points are in place. And of course, talking about probabilities on top of that, technically the probabilities are on the upside. Trend is to the upside as well. So if I did have to call a direction here, I would say to the upside, but I'm not playing it right now. I have no interest. You can see that Bitcoin's right at resistance. Typically don't like buying right at resistance, although a consolidation, a little bit more long form at resistance is more or less a good thing for the bulls, but failure to take another leg up like in the next day or two, and bearish divergence on some pretty worthwhile time frames will start to really actually form, and well, that would not be good. So with all of that said, I think I'll just kind of leave it off there. You probably didn't hear me speak too much confidently today, and that's for good reason. I'm not very confident in the market right here. I've been very confident the last couple months. Not that means anything, but it's I felt like the right direction was pretty was pretty statistically likely. Right now, while the probabilities are on the upside, I do feel a little bit hesitant to be it right here. Longer term things seem to be okay. Longer term things seem to be fine. I'd really like to see the weekly close. If the weekly could close above 95.50, especially if CME is just confirmed above there today, that'd likely be good enough for me for just being generally bullish, but not really having like a time frame on it. I couldn't like nail it down to a day, but probably like the next couple of weeks, getting that move into the 5 digits. But for right now, Bitcoin a little bit in limbo here, and those critical areas are just essentially what I'm going to be watching with a little bit more excitement to the upside. But with all of that said, I'd like to wish you well. Like I said, I'll be back on Twitch a little bit later today, and until then, I'd like to what was I just saying? I would like to. It's like, how many times am I going to wish you well? God damn, man. It's like a broken soundtrack right here. Anyways, you can see that I'm searching for my words, which usually my cue to get the fuck off. Probably drank a little bit too much coffee today. As always, wish you well. Take care, and until next time.